We have another system of equations here. So again, remember from the previous video, the solution to a system is where these two lines are going to intersect. And so we are asked to solve this graphically. Now notice, in contrast to the previous video, these two lines are not given to me solved for y. So that is going to be my first thing. So I'm just going to rewrite this top equation over here so that I have some room to work. If I'm going to solve this equation for y, meaning I'm going to get the y all by itself, that means I need to move the 2x to the other side. So since this is a positive 2x, I'm going to use the subtraction property of equality, and I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides. So on the left, the 2x's cancel. Remember, your equals always stays in the middle. On the right, these are not like terms, so we do not add them, and so I have negative 2x plus 6. You might say, Mr. Perkins, why did you put the x term first? Why didn't you write 6 minus 2x? You could, but sometimes students get confused as far as then where is the slope? The slope is always in front of the x, and we're just kind of used to seeing it in this format. So we tend to put the x term first. Okay, so now the slope of this line is the number that is in front of the x always. So that is going to be a negative 2, and I'm going to write that as a negative 2 over 1 because slope is the ratio of the y over the x. So this means I'm going to go negative 2 in the y direction, so down 2, and then 1 in the x direction, so right 1. And then the y-intercept of this line is this value right here, so 0, 6. That is where the graph goes through the y-axis. This problem right here, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to write it right underneath. So I need to solve for y first. So first thing I'm going to do is subtract the 4x. This is the very same thing I did on the previous problem. And so 4x minus 4x is 0, and I have 2y, and then 0 minus 4x is negative 4x. Now, unlike the previous problem, on this one, I have one more thing to do to solve for y. This is 2 times y, and if I want to get the y by itself, then the opposite of multiplying by 2 is dividing by 2. So 2 divided by 2 leaves 1y, and then negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2x. So the slope of this line is the negative 2. I'll write negative 2 over 1. And then the y-intercept of this line, well, you don't see a number here, and that's okay. When you don't see a number, that means the y-intercept is 0. The line goes through the origin. So now what we're going to do is we're going to graph both these lines, and we're going to see where do they intersect. So here's my cool piece of graph paper. The first line, if you're looking at your notes, the first line had a y-intercept of 6. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 up. I'm going to make a fun dot right there. And then the slope is negative 2. So negative 2 meant go down 2 and then positive 1 in the x direction. Down 2, positive 1 in the x direction. Down 2, positive 1 in the x. I'm going to go one more time. Down 2, positive 1 in the x. I just like to get myself enough points. That way I know that I'm not drawing my line poorly, okay? Because I am not a good artist. So there's my line, nice and purple. That's a good color for a line. All right, and so then the next equation had a y-intercept of 0, so right here at the origin. And then the slope was negative 2. So once again, down 2, positive 1. Make a dot. Down 2, positive 1. Make a dot. Down 2, positive 1. And one more time, down 2, positive 1. Now, as I'm connecting these dots, you will notice from your notes that both of these lines had the same slope. And that tells us something, and the picture bears it out. When two lines have the same slope, notice these lines never get any closer together. They are parallel, like train tracks hopefully are. And so if the solution to a system of equations is where the lines intersect, and these ones never get any closer, then what we're going to have, and I'm going to do my best to write this upside down, because there's no point where they cross, we are going to have no solution. Okay, there is no solution to this system of equations. These two lines are parallel, and that means that they will never cross.